Welcome back to the Wolff Den, presented by Win Again Academy. I'm Matt Wolff, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. Today we welcome Scott Eisenstadt to the show. Welcome to the Wolff Den. I think muted. It was working a second ago. No.
All right.
There we go.
Now?
Yeah, that's good.
All right.
We'll be fine without the mic.
Yeah.
I think we'll be able to hear you. So
you
for those in the audience who don't know, give us a quick intro and then we'll get to it.
Sure. Scott Eisenstadt. I am the founder of NIL Empire, which is a company that does all things NIL for student athletes across the country, specifically college athletes. And we specialize in college basketball and football.
NIL is it's a big topic. Still the great unknown. We're 2 years in, right? Just about 2 years in.
Yeah.
And I think at the beginning there were a lot of experts who were just talking about things they didn't really know about and pushing their own agenda. 2 years later, I think the experts are not as loud, but there's still some there. My opinion, NIL isn't really what it is intended to do. It's almost like still the Wild Wild West, which means, I don't know, not good things, I think, combined with the portal. But where do you think we are 2 years in, and we're coming up on another season of football and basketball?
Sure. Where do I think we are in the NIL space? I would say we've seen a lot of progress, and there's still some, there's still like not a lot of awareness. There's a lot of companies who want to do sports marketing who don't realize that NIL is an opportunity for them to do it. There's a lot of players who aren't sure about how to maximize their potential, how to build their brand, and ultimately leverage themselves correctly to gain deals. But at the same time, so much has happened in the last couple of years. And I think, like most new industries, this is going to be one that changes maybe 10 times in 10 years, maybe 5 times in 5 years. There's going to be more regulation. There's going to be different types of opportunities, more streamlined events that are going to kind of set the standard for athletes. And, I'm excited because it's been a very fun avenue for me to work through. And, sure, there are definitely some pain points and some things that you have to overcome, but I think that goes with pretty much any job and almost any industry. So for me, it's all good.
I think ultimately it will end up being a good thing, because athletes deserve to be able to take part in some type of revenue share for what they bring to the universities, but also, gain some extra money for whatever that might be. My issue is that the NCAA didn't do anything about it, and this is not a new thing, right? The O'Bannon brothers sued EA like 20, 30 years ago, and that's sort of was the beginning of all of this. And the NCAA didn't do anything until other people just sort of did it and passed legislation and said, okay, this is going to be a thing. But and now it feels like the NCAA is, I don't know that they have the power. I don't think they would do anything to really regulate it. So that's where I think, things are going to be still a little bit choppy until there becomes really more clear rules and more transparency, which no one wants to do yet unless they're forced to, which, by the way, isn't much different than anything else, right? You don't want to be transparent until you're forced to be transparent.
Sure. Yeah. Just to kind of layer onto what you're, where it started, I feel like the O'Bannon brothers is a big part of it. They wanted rights, but when social media really started taking off, like, I don't know, like 10 years ago, maybe, with Instagram, and what kept on happening was this unfair occurrence of, there's a guy who plays quarterback for a large state school university, and a company wants to pay him thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars in order to represent their product or service, and he or she, whoever the athlete was, let's say it was a quarterback, in this case it'd be a uh, he would not be able to accept the payment because of the deal that he signed. It restricted him from being able to profit because he was taking a college scholarship and he was taking other incentives in order to attend the university, which is fine. That's just kind of how it was. But what wasn't okay was he could be sitting in class, Econ 101, and there could be a student next to him who is a social media influencer who is now going to get the same deal and is allowed to take the deal just because they're not affiliated with the athletic associate, like the athletic department. They could also be getting a full ride scholarship. They don't sign anything saying that they're not allowed to, profit in any way off of their own name and image and likeness. So this kept on happening, and especially when social media started getting big, and we started finding that there's this new role and a new thing that you can be, an influencer, which was started with mainstream culture and then pop media and all that stuff. So that I think was like the big stepping stone, one of the big steps that had to happen in order for NIL to really get launched forward into becoming legal and a national standard.
But there's nothing to say I can't pay you $1 million to post whatever. I mean, that's
well, there was. That's the thing. You couldn't. So
I mean, today I could.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now,
$1
right.
million, but they're not. I mean, why is it? Who says they're worth $1 million other than someone wants to put $1 million in their hands because they want to support the team? So for me, that's part of the issue too. And we don't have any parameters. You're paying them. It's not supposed to be a pay to play, but everyone knows that's essentially what it is. But there should be ways that they could. I don't know if it's regulate, but at least make it seem like it's more above board than I think it is.
Well, I guess like art, right? I wouldn't pay $1 million for an Andy Warhol painting, right? But some people definitely would, right? And so it's worth it to some people. So like if you look at the top athletic directors, they are comfortable paying a certain number to a specific athlete who they believe is going to propel their team or is going to maybe even anchor and launch them into a new direction. Whatever it is, if they believe in a player, they have a budget. To them, it's worth the money. No one's questioning that. So I get what you're saying, but I hear you. But they're a company, and we're still figuring out like what the real numbers are. But a company will look at a player, a top tier player, and say, to me, it's worth it if they are saying my name. I've got an image of them with my brand right across the image here, and it goes to all of their followers, and they'll even say something that we're telling them to say. Yeah, that's worth 10 grand. That's worth 50 grand, whatever the number is. And, those all are based on, impressions and social media influence and all of that. And so to somebody, it is worth the money. And
yeah, I get that when you say to someone it's worth the money. And I agree. Look, everything is only worth what someone's going to pay for it. My point to saying that was in the NBA, and they have a salary cap. So even if you have all this money that you want to pay and you think these people are worth 100 million each player, there's just so much you can do. And so in the NIL world, there's no one really telling you can't pay X amount of money for all these players. And then it just feels like it becomes who can garner up the most money it just becomes less. I don't want to sit on the amateur side of it because it's not no one cares about amateur athletics at the top. They just don't. Everything they do proves that it's not as much about the student athletes as it is about the athletes, right? Athletes who are students, not student athletes. But I think there's got to be some type of guidelines, and I don't know where that'll come from, but I think that's a part of, what's wrong with NIL as we sit today.
Yeah, I mean everyone's trying to put it together right now. There are governing list of rules, state by state, and even nationally, that NIL, has to be compliant with. Like all the deals have to be compliant in a certain way. Each school is different. Each state is different. A lot of compliance departments within universities. Some of them are very agile and easy and very forward thinking, and they're ready to help people out. Like UF, I think you're wearing a UF jersey. Like they're great. I've worked with them a lot, and those guys are awesome. And then there are other schools who are really struggling. Their compliance department is looking at this whole thing like, let's just make sure we don't get in trouble. Let's block basically every deal. And I've sadly been on the side of that as well. So, it's like everything else. They're figuring it out. But you're right. It needs to be more concrete. It should be like you just listed the salary cap. It's a great example. There's a salary cap in the NFL, in the NBA, all this, and so if you could cap them and say, all right, universities only allowed to pay a certain amount. Maybe that would be a good governing rule, and then everyone would kind of have a basis of what percentage of the budget they're spending on the quarterback versus the point guard versus the guard. So versus the punter. So I don't know, maybe, but then like on the business side of things, not just for the athletic department, like you wouldn't put a cap on the companies. Like Under Armour is a big, Steph Curry is a big Under Armour guy. We don't know how much he's making in Under Armour. I think Bryce Harper is another one. His deal's not listed. So like they could be making more from Under Armour than they do from the team, but it's worth it to them because of all the sales that they're generating.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think they do. They do have slots in the draft that these players are. So I think maybe some type of slots. It doesn't have to be exact, but I don't know. I just think I think that's part of what the future NIL will be. But
I think, and just to cut you off, sorry.
Yeah.
I think what everyone wants, and what I'm hearing from you, is that we want more transparency. Like today, Caleb Love went to Arizona. We don't know how much he signed. I have connections. I know people that he used to live with. Like I'm tapped in just because of the connections I have. I'll be able to figure out in a timely manner the number that he got. But like for the average fan, for all the Arizona basketball fans, for the Michigan basketball fans who he has just left that team, there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be like, how much did he get paid? What was the number? And everyone wants to know. So like, because it's kind of private right now, there's no regulation. It doesn't have to be listed. And it feels like
it should be listed. It just feels like it should be listed, doesn't it? But here's the thing.
And the fact that it feels like it's scummy for no reason. Someone just posted the number and said, here's what it is.
Who cares? Here's what you paid. We want them to be there. Here's what we paid.
Exactly. So
my friends and I are huge college athletic fans, and we're not so much wanting to know how much someone got paid. We're just feeling icky because our team didn't get someone because these guys offered more, when back in the day that happened all the time, probably more in football than basketball, but nobody kind of knew about it. Now it feels like they're almost allowed to. That's a whole nother conversation.
Sure.
But it's just, and I think the problem also, which is hurting it, is the portal. It's crazy that those are coming together at the same time, because with the portal, it just makes it easier for you to be like, all right, I'm just going to go and I'm going to leave.
Yeah, it's interesting. I don't agree. I really love the portal. Now, I'm on the side of helping guys in the portal, and we got a question. We'll get into that in a sec, but just to talk about the portal, I think it's very interesting. Like, first of all, there's a lot of stats that no one really looks at, and that is like the big one that leaps out to me. It's something like 60 or 70% of guys who enter the portal don't get an offer to go anywhere else. So they're like, grass is always greener. I'm going to go in the portal. Everything's going to be great. And they're stuck. And then suddenly they have to have a very, very humbling conversation with the coach that they just told they were going to leave. and hey, can I stay? Is that okay? And that's tough. So the portal is not this, oh, I want to get out of here. Everything's going to open up for me. Boom, done. So, that's something I've been able to help a lot of my clients with, negotiating the portal, figuring out if there is a good landing spot for them before they even enter, by just looking around and who's losing who and what's going on where and coaching staffs and changes and all that stuff. And then when you're in the portal, it's easy to focus on the guys who go to the portal and have a very successful season. Like Oscar Shibwe is a great example. He got kicked off West Virginia, enters the portal, and then he goes to Kentucky, becomes the player of the year. I mean, he's like literally the poster boy for the portal. But then there's a lot of guys who are not Shibwe, who will go in the portal. The coach will say, oh, you're going to play, you're going to start. They don't start. They don't play. Suddenly they're getting, they're all their opportunities to make it to the next level, which is why they transferred in the first place, so they can really showcase their talents. It's all slipping away. And it happens. It happens every season. So it's, the portal, it's good and it's bad, but for the guys who get recruited to a university under promises, we're going to play you. You're going to be the starting X. You're going to participate in this way. And then the staff changes or just the staff doesn't follow through. This is a really great opportunity for the guys to not feel cornered and trapped in a place, just like in the NBA or the NFL, how there's free agency. Like if they aren't comfortable in the space that they're in, or if they see a better opportunity elsewhere, they now have the ability to go. Now, as a fan, I understand the frustration. I understand you want to see a guy play 4 years, whether it's on football, basketball, any of the major sports. You want to see a guy and build loyalty and build a brand and build team. And, and that still happens. Dayton was a great example in the COVID year. They were going to be a 1 seed in the tournament before the tournament got canceled. They had 4 seniors, and one of them was Obi Toppin. Now he's on the Knicks. They played together for 4 years, or maybe even 5 seniors. They were locked in, and they built it, and they did it the right way, or whatever, the traditional way, not the right way. But it's hard to tell everybody you belong in that path. And it's hard to, especially when there's so many one and done guys or guys coming in from Europe or from anywhere, and just getting the opportunity to really just do it their own way. I think the portal's been really special in the way that it's helped so many guys get that opportunity to.
Yeah, I think I don't think someone should be stuck where they're at, but even before you have to sit out a year.
Yeah.
But on that
That's
side,
fair.
I think, look, it's
that's
not
a
to
great.
tell you have to sit out a year if the coach can leave. So I think if a coach leaves, then you should be able to leave without sitting out. But if you just made a bad decision, I just think it's not good.
What if a coach lies?
Yeah, I mean, coach lies all the time. That they're going to lie to get you there.
Yeah. So, should they be allowed to get out if a coach lied to them?
Well, yeah, I mean, I just think it's too many
And then
people,
how do you prove that?
too many teams that are look, I think the Gators do well in the portal, but I still don't like it. I mean, I think there's people I wanted to leave who wouldn't and bring on new players, and it's exciting. I think we have some good players this year that we're excited about, but it's just something about it's rubbing a lot of college fans the wrong way. It's not going to do anything. People are still going to watch, I think, overall.
I hope so.
Yeah. By the way, this is a Ticket Time Machine jersey in Gator colors because I'm a Gator
Nice.
and everything I do is orange and blue.
Okay, nice.
So let's talk about NIL Empire. How what are you doing to help the college athletes, and what is the process from start to finish look like?
Okay. I help guys in a lot of ways. The primary thing is, they're being a college athlete is, a student athlete. It's a time demanding situation. So they have a lot of responsibilities to their scholastics. They have a lot of responsibilities to their team. It's very time consuming. My goal is to take the marketing side completely off their plate, call them once a week, once a month, depending on, how many opportunities there are and say, hey, here are your options. I've got this deal with this company. It's $500 for an appearance and an Instagram post. Here's this one. You get a free pair of shoes and you can do this for $250 or, whatever. And they just say yes or no. So I just want to take everything off their plate. And then in addition to that, things that I try to do, I try to really go the extra mile. So if a guy calls me at 10 o'clock at night, 1 in the morning, if I'm up, I'm rolling, I'm working. I tell my guys it's 24/7 because I really believe it. If a guy wants to branch out in a way and get a little more notoriety in the social media space, maybe post a little bit more or differently than they have been, we'll go through campaigns and strategies. I will help them with all of that. And I set up all sorts of opportunities for them, whether it's PR, things that are local. I will help them sell merchandise. I'll help them basically do anything I can to help them have a supplementary income while their time is being completely demanded. And that's really, I'm very lucky to be able to do it. And I also feel lucky that I'm like, it's not only the athletes that I'm helping. I'm able to help companies who don't understand that, they can afford sports marketing because they can't afford Patrick Mahomes doesn't mean they can't afford sports marketing. For some guys, the deals can be as low as $1,000, maybe even $500. Even less depending on exactly what they're looking for. And then I'm also helping a lot of students. Like for instance, you said you're a Gator. I'm also a Gator. I have students getting college credit by through internships, whether they're in studying social media or marketing with a specificity in social media, or they're studying sports marketing, or they're starting sports management. I've been able to help a lot of different interns, and this company has been a lot of fun. I've been doing it less than a year, and it's been so fun and so eye-opening. I'm just so grateful.
I've had Gator interns before. I'm always happy to have more interns to help who want to get to know the business. So definitely keep that in mind. Are you talking to more companies or players at any given moment, or is it relatively equal?
Definitely more companies. I probably reach out to anywhere from 30 to 50 companies a day. And I have about 12 clients, probably going to have 20 before the season starts. I'm just trying to pick out who exactly I'm going to take on. It's been great. I would say day to day, I probably talk to each one of my clients at least once a week. And then day to day, if as things come up, they come up. So I can very easily be talking to 1 or 2 of my clients every single day. But yeah, no, it's more company focused. I want to stay out of the guy's way, make it so that they just have deals coming to them and it's streamlined.
It's not pay to play. That's not the intention of it. But obviously, the how good a player does in the moment, you got to sort of siege the moment, right? If they're hot, if they were named to a special team or had a great week, all of that stuff.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Intuitively, absolutely. I would love to answer that question that we just saw. Intuitively, yes, if there's a guy who's, he's very successful on the field, he's got a great personality off the field, opportunities are just going to come to them. That's great. And I will help negotiate and figure out, what is a good opportunity and which ones, he should consider passing on even, which is rare, but it happens. And, but like, right, Nick Boyd is one of my clients. He's at Florida Atlantic. He's the point guard. They had a historic run. They went to the Final Four. The companies in Boca, who, that's where he plays, they were not ready for this run. So there weren't just, it's not like I was just receiving 20 calls a day from companies being like, hey, we want to represent Final Four, all these, and like nothing was really coming to me. So we seized the moment in the way that we could. Like this poster from this, it was a great company. They're called Get Dats. They've got an app. You go, you pay for a signed memorabilia. You see you've got his signature right up here. That's great, but like, it's you would think that, okay, if this guy makes the Final Four, his social media profile literally doubled since the time the tournament started. It didn't turn into his deals doubling. So there's still some growing room for companies to understand the value of athletic marketing. And if they weren't doing it before, just because it's affordable now, it doesn't mean that they're going to understand how to do it now. So I'm definitely doing a lot of explaining when I'm, getting my deals. Definitely teaching a lot, and saying. I used to work for this company. They gave this great example. It's like, do you remember when the iPod came out?
Yeah.
And you're explaining to like an older person, okay, so all your music is right here. It's right here. And they would go, great. So where do I put the CDs? And you're like, nope, they're gone. CDs are gone. Everything's here. I put all the CDs here. You just click the button and there's all your music. And they're like, cool. So when I put on the CD, how do I get it to go to there? And you're like, no, hang on. Conceptually, it's different. So like, there's a little bit of explaining, and which is fine. I've been on this podcast for 26 minutes. Feels like nothing. I can talk all day. So for me, that's great. There was a question. Can we field that question?
Yeah, a couple of questions. Brandon's he wanted to know about the females and their opportunities, how that's changed now with NIL, and then also wanted to know about how you go about picking an ideal client.
Yeah, interesting questions. As far as females go, I don't represent any females at the moment. I would love to. I'm waiting until I get better at what I do before I start branching into any of sports. So I'm very comfortable in college basketball on the men's side and college football. And when I am ready to take on a third sport, it'll most likely be female basketball, college women's basketball. There's absolutely opportunity there in this space. Those girls are so marketable. They're so talented. They're so good at what they do. And I would be honored to represent tons of them. Absolutely. But for now, I've just not done that. And then how do I pick my ideal client? I would say there's two buckets that I look for. Is this player going to be a pro? Because I'm building relationships with guys who I believe can, be a long-term, business partner of mine. And so if they can go pro, then everything that we do in NIL will translate very easily to sports marketing in the future. So that's like the end goal. Pretty obvious. I'm sure 90% of companies who are doing NIL is doing the exact same thing. If they're not, I'd be very surprised. And then, so I look for two things. Can they be a pro? Or if they can't be a pro, are they social media savvy? Are they constantly posting videos? Are they creative when they post their videos? What are they doing to push the envelope? And so you'll see I have a few clients who are like that, who perhaps they're not, going to be in the first round of next year's draft, but clearly they are social media savvy and they have an influence and they build and they make great content. So, those are my two buckets.
Yeah, NIL, everyone thought it was going to be all these big people at the top making a lot of money. And there are some deals, in football that we hear of and, some in basketball. But a lot of these deals are going to be more concentrated on, let's pay all of these people a smaller amount of money. At least everyone gets involved and we can use that. But it's, that's the idea, is that everyone should have some type of opportunity to make money, whether you're the starting quarterback or if you're, a walk-on.
Yeah, absolutely. And the collectives are trying to do a good job with that. They're trying to make sure everyone gets involved. Some of the bigger schools like I won't list their schools, but there's a few where they've done programs and events where all the athletes on a specific team get paid, but they'll pay them out differently if they're a scholarship or a walk-on. And the discrepancy can be big, but at least everyone's getting involved and they're not just inviting 5 of the 15 players. So yeah, absolutely. Just like everything, there's going to be a way to scrutinize, right? They could pay every single player 50 grand on every single team and every single sport. And someone would say, well, that's not fair. So, it's like the definition of fair and equal.
Yeah,
Like, they're not contributing the same. So,
there's value to the scholarship and all of the benefits they get even without getting paid. But I do agree
certainly.
that they should have some opportunity to make money, even in the jerseys that these schools are selling. Like someone gets $4 for a $125 jersey. It seems crazy to me. There's got to be a better way to get these players money. And then, so that's why everyone jumped right into apparel. But there's not a lot of people who are just going to sell a ton of shirts. Not a lot of athletes.
No, it's not so universal. There's few, but yeah, absolutely. There's even companies who are just creating jerseys because they have the licensing and they're not even cutting in the players. And I believe that they would have to have some sort of sign off from the university to do that. So the system's not perfect. It's honestly like there's still some things that need to be ironed out. Absolutely.
Yeah, part of the issue is that the teams, the teams and the schools are not supposed to be. They're supposed to make sure they're compliant, but they're not really supposed to be involved, which I think they really need to be. They need to be playing well and agreeing and working together. But that leads to, without strict rules and regulations, that leads to the more of the chaos. So I think down the line, when there's regulation, I think that is going to be an important part, is to have the university be involved with it. It's silly. I handle the same issue when we talk about the major leagues. Like if I'm Otani, I don't need to put an Angels logo on my shirt. I know who it is. Aaron Judge. Like some people, and it's the same with the players. So it's like silly to be like, well, wouldn't you want to represent your university and just have it look better than try and have someone in a Miami Hurricanes without any. It's just without markings or anything. I think it looks silly.
Yeah, well, that's the way to get around the licensing fees. And some of these companies that are branching out or that are starting up right now surrounding this and trying to say, okay, we'll represent all these athletes, but we're not going to get any licensing fees, or we're not going to pay any licensing fees. They'll put the guy's number and the colors, but they won't say the university or the college. And you're right, it could look corny. Some of my guys do it. If they like it, God bless. But but I get what you're saying. And it's just a matter of preference. Those sell. So, yeah.
I mean, even the marketing arms of these universities don't play well with the athletic departments. That's something that I see, which is weird to me, and just a huge missed opportunities all around, because there's enough money. There's enough money for everyone to be happy.
I've encountered that too. Every athletic department that I've worked with they are on the same page. These are our guys. They work hard. You can find them an opportunity. We're not going to get in your way. And they've been great about that. And then it's whether it's marketing or compliance, or there's a lot of branches of a university that have involved themselves in this new process just to make sure everyone's going to be doing this correctly, even though they don't know what that means. That's where the blockades come, and it's unfortunate, but I think it's just a matter of time before everything gets resolved. So I'm trying to be patient. I don't. You see, I'm not listing anybody that I've had a disagreement with. I'm not here to throw anyone under the bus.
No, I try not to.
I believe they're doing what they believe is right. That they're not just putting a stop to something because they think that there's another way for them to make more money instead of paying the play. Like I don't want to accuse anyone of anything. I just believe that they're actually trying to do the right thing, and that sure, it's currently hurting the players in a way, but there's going to be a way past it, and we're all going to figure it out together.
Yeah, I think it's hard to even tell. Like if I said who's doing NIL successfully, it's so hard to tell. I mean, obviously, you feel like, I don't know. Miami did a good job, right? They brought the Cavender twins in. They got the couple of players in the men's basketball team, and then who knows what happened with the Rashada deal. So it's who knows.
Yeah, they definitely have a system. Miami has a good system in place. They've obviously have found their way into scrutiny, and they were investigated at one point, but um, uh, there's no question that the players who go to the university are profiting from name, image, and likeness. So, take the good with the bad in that case. If that was one of my clients, that's what I would say.
What is the companies that you're talking to? There's obviously going to be some risk to them, whether or not this player is even ever good, or if this player stays to them, if it stays with that organization and school and team, if it's a regional thing. How much of an issue has that been?
Sorry, which question do you want me to answer?
The corporations having a risk on taking on a player who either might not perform well, or would leave. They decide this area is not for them, and it was maybe a regional deal.
I think because the deals are so small in comparison to like their national campaigns that they're all comfortable with the risk. That's my interpretation. That's my impression. Um, but for the most part, they don't really run into it. It's like I don't have an example of my own, especially where someone paid for a deal and then the player didn't perform um, at all. Like it doesn't really happen. There's like I represent a guy who he redshirted for his entire freshman season, so he like did not play at all. He was still bringing in deals. The companies that were working with him were completely aware of that. So that's like an example, but uh, it's not like there was some. There's never in the negotiations saying okay, well, if we pay your client $1,000, he better put up 10 touchdowns. There's none of that.
No, obviously not.
So it doesn't really come up. They're usually excited about the guy that they're working with. All my guys are great guys. They've had a conversation with them, and they say, this is somebody we want to represent our image, our brand, and it's usually more excitement than worried about risk. But on our side, I like to negotiate like time length. So if if you're going to be representing our guy, you can put his image on your social media for the duration of X. So sometimes it's the duration of his college career or the duration of this season, depending on how small a deal is. I'll actually negotiate that so that I can potentially bring my guys a little bit more money for a long-term investment. And they can just keep their image on for even the span of a lifetime if they paid for it. So
Yeah, I mean, but back to the previous conversation, but my understanding was that I think it was some crypto or NFT paid Evers, the quarterback at Texas, like $1 million, and someone had said that his compensation was close to 4 million, and then Arch Manning signs. Obviously, I would assume, even though I don't think he needs money, that there was some NIL involved with that, and now maybe Evers doesn't play, he transfers. Maybe Mark Manning doesn't play, and Evers is that good. It's just, to me, that's obviously a big risk. Or how much truth is that? I mean, do we believe that this guy's getting $1 million from a NFT company just for whatever? That's tough for me to
it's
believe.
possible. I would believe it, but I would love to see the contract. Maybe it's 50 grand a year for 20 years. That's $1 million, and that you pay it out over a long time. You've got a client for 20 years. Maybe that's what's going on, or
That's like the
maybe
Major League Baseball backloaded, like Bobby Bonilla Day. They'll have
right. Exactly, it's a great example. So yeah, it really could be anything, but because of what we talked about earlier, how there's not a lot of transparency, it's hard to say. I wouldn't imagine like for an NFT deal, and I'm not for what it's worth, I'm not an NFT expert. This is not my space. This is not my field. I would still imagine it'd be hard for them to just pay $1 million flat out um, for an unknown entity.
Yeah,
Like
I think it was
for
like
if they
12.
had a Patrick Mahomes, $1 million. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
That guy's we know he's going to be in the league. He's going to dominate for the next how many years?
How important is it to keep your nose clean and out of trouble? Are there a lot of moral clauses and stuff that these companies can get out if you're sort of, John Morant?
Okay. I'm not going to speak to Ja. I won't sign a guy who I would suspect is not a great person. All my guys are solid guys. I go to the games. I bring my friends, my family, say hello to the guys after the game, and every time, whether it's a friend or family, they're always like, "Wow, they're so nice. That guy was so nice. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it." I'm like, "Yeah, all my guys are solid. Like, I know no one's got off the field, off the court baggage that would be, dangerous or anything like that." And I think
everyone is that way until they're not. That was a great
yeah, maybe.
quote about something. So yeah, you do the best homework that you can.
Sure, and I believe in second chances. Some of my guys got into trouble, earlier, and when they were young and silly, and for whatever reason, it happens, and it can be a circumstance of an upbringing and where you were brought up, and there's all sorts of stuff. I mean, there's literally movies about this kind of stuff, and it's sad. So I just try to do my best. But to answer your question, I think it's important for all of us to just to keep your nose clean, to be upstanding citizens. And then student athletes, they actually sign contracts, not only with me. I have a morality clause on my contracts. They, do the right thing,
Yeah.
be a model citizen, or, this is not going to be a valid contract. And they have the same things. Most of them have the same things with universities, that they have to sign something saying, you're going to be representing our school. You have to, behave. And especially, you see it. UF is a great example. These guys, they're constantly wearing their gear. They're constantly wearing, UF football sweaters, hoodies, all that stuff. Like, if they're acting silly, which I can't cite any examples because these guys are good guys. If they're acting up, it looks bad on the university. It looks bad on everyone that they're affiliated with, whoever's representing them, whoever they brought them up, whoever their friends are. It's good to be a good person. I mean, I know that's so cookie cutter, and it's not. Really
it's easy to be. It's not that hard to follow the rules, but my feeling is that there's not enough deterrent for bad behavior. I talk about this all the time, and that's everywhere. But in the college world, you see it depends on how good and important you are to the team, and that's
sure.
that's a whole nother conversation. But ultimately, yeah, you want to try. It's important because these people are putting their brand to you. They're hitching their brand to you, and I don't know that anyone. You don't think that any brand is so tied to one person until Bud Light brings a trans person to push their stuff, and all of a sudden everyone's up in arms about it. So not that they did anything wrong, but what they did impacted their brand and how people looked at their brand. So whether it's good or bad, everything that you do, is important for the brand. And I think the players have the brand too. They got to be careful who they hook up with, and
absolutely. I'm not out there pursuing, Bud Light or any other alcoholic, beverages. Most of my clients are under 21. It doesn't make sense. I'm not pursuing the marijuana industry because there are regulations at the next level of what you're allowed to do, and state by state, it's not legal across the country. I try not to do anything that's, that could be perceived as a no-no. And so, yes, I'm very careful about that. And I think everyone gets that. But I don't know. There's there's a lot of gray areas. Like what you were just saying about how important they are to the team is going to reflect the punishment that they get or don't get. And of course, it's a sad aspect of our reality. It's 2023. You can't say anything. But I don't know, 4 or 5 or 6 years ago, LeBron said he had an issue with China and the basketball situation. Something was going on. He's like, I don't need to play in China. I don't want to misquote him. He said something, and the NBA backed LeBron. They said, this is the most important guy in our situation. Like, he's our guy. and they lost hundreds of millions of dollars in TV deals with China that is literally affecting and still affecting the entire NBA's minimum no earnings. So like right now, the minimum for a player I think is like $980,000 in the NBA. It would have been much higher if LeBron had apologized or just didn't even take that stance or whatever. But or potentially if the commissioner of the NBA had admonished LeBron and sided with China, which would have been, when you think about it, even just saying it would have been crazy. But it probably would have affected a lot of guys who are making, the 980. Maybe they were making 1.2 or 1.5.
Yeah, but I think it's important to take a stand for what is right and wrong, and that's become gray. What's right and wrong. I just want to be like history's on my side, and I'm okay if the other people don't. Someone sent me an article like, don't take a stand for this, or this, because half of your people will be against you, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with half people being against me if it's
Right.
if it's something that I believe in, and I speak very strongly about what I believe in, and I also think that a lot of people might not like that I believe in that, and they're still gonna support me, or they'll buy my stuff, or they might not even know they're buying my stuff. Like I eat Chick-fil-A. I hate what they're,
All right. I'm
and
out.
some of that's
I'm not
overblown.
gonna be on this podcast anymore. Nope. Yeah, you got to be really, you got to be so careful about what you're saying. And for these guys, for my clients, for college athletes, it's so easy to get scrutinized. You say one bad thing, suddenly every fan of your rival school is going to come after you, and that could be 50,000 people. And you got to be really careful about what you say. And at the same time, you got to be able to be yourself. In these days, it's a tough line. It's a tough needle to thread, but we're all figuring it out.
What's a hot industry, or something that you think will be a hot industry in the next year or so for players to align with? And then what's a program for players that you think is going to be the best thing? Do you have any ideas or stuff that you've encountered, or what you might think the future is?
Yeah, I've thought about this a lot actually, because I want to be innovative and on the forefront of where to look for deals. And I believe what'll be hot in the next year will be anything surrounding apparel. But what there's really a need for is financial literacy. There needs to be companies that are teaching young guys who are making money for the first time without having a real job. It's not a 9 to. I mean, it's more time demanding than a 9 to 5, but it's not the typical experience of going to work and getting a check. Instead, it's you're getting this, you're getting that. So it'd be very interesting to get some companies together who can educate these young athletes on how to spend money, how to save money, how to plan for the future, all of that.
Shouldn't that be the responsibility of the schools? They're an educational institution.
Of course, but it's not like the athletes are required, if they get an NIL deal, they're not required to take a financial education course, financial literacy course. Not every school even offers one. I mean, I don't know if you remember when you went to school. Did you go to a class that taught you how to fill out your taxes?
I didn't go to class.
Okay, so exactly.
It was on TV. All my classes were on TV.
Yeah. So, did you do UF online?
No, but they had the first class in the morning at like 8, and then they had replay. It was the business school, so it was so huge that they just had replays all over the place. So I never really physically went to class most of the time. That was half joking.
Sure. So, I'm sorry, I take everything very literally. So,
but no, I agree with you about the tax.
Yeah, right.
I think most of the stuff that we learn in school, and that starts from the bottom, is not relevant to what we need. I think they should revamp the whole education system from 5th grade through college to do stuff like that, stuff that's in the real world. You have all these people who are book smart, but they're not street smart.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I've got some family, with some young kids who are doing like a Montessori type of school, and they're they're building furniture together, and the way that they're educated is completely not conventional. But I see real world skills, and I'm very curious to see, like, are they going to turn out light years ahead of the other kids or whatever. But that's also not my expertise. I don't even have kids, so it's I don't know if anyone wants to hear my thoughts on the education system or not. But yeah, look, I'm with you. You got to be really careful. And these guys, they might be making money through NIL for the next 4 years, and then never again in the NIL space. And you hope that they save it, or you hope that they're aware that there's a small chance that they're going to go pro, and so that they've planned in some way how to get what to do after college.
Yeah, those commercials that the NCAA did about how only 1% goes pro and this person became a doctor. I really enjoyed those commercials because it's the truth of it all. And there are people who are have a chance, but most people know they're not going to.
Oh yeah,
It depends on what sport you're in, right? You're in basketball, the pool is even smaller than, say, football.
absolutely. And another thing that NIL has done, which no one's really talking about, is it's given athletes a chance to start companies. So now there are guys on teams who are starting companies, and they're signing up all of their teammates, and it's mutually beneficial, and it's going great. Like it's created innovation and created an avenue for these guys to branch out and try things while they're still in school, which it resonates with me. I started companies when I was in school, and so it's great. I think the whole thing, the big picture is great. I'm a big proponent of NIL, obviously, and that there's one takeaway. You focus on the good.
What rule would you administer to make things better to go to the next? Is there something that you would like to see implemented?
Ooh. Transparency is a great one. I wish there was more transparency in the deals that were being completed. And yeah, there's a few things I'd love to see happen. I think let's stick with transparency.
All right, that's a good answer. Is there one player, if you could pick any player to represent for the upcoming seasons, that you would love to represent?
Absolutely, all my current clients.
I'm saying someone who you don't have, someone who's like, I just really like the personality of this kid, and I think they're going to be a star.
Sure. Let me think. Man, there's a lot of really interesting incoming freshmen. I guess the most exciting would be LeBron's son, Bronny. Really? I saw him play. I used to live in LA, and he was in high school. He'd just gone out to Sierra Canyon, and I was playing pickup, like a 6 a.m. game. And at the end of my game, he walked in with a couple of trainers, and he was like maybe 6 foot. He was not tall yet. He wasn't that tall yet. And I look over, and I'm like, I think that's LeBron's son. I had never seen him in person. And as he's warming up, he just throws down a behind the back dunk. And I'm thinking, no, it's definitely LeBron's son. And I think the excitement around him in Los Angeles, near his father,
a lot of opportunity.
Yeah, I think that would be a monumental opportunity to represent someone like him.
I saw him play once. I saw him play once on ESPN. I thought there were 2 or 3 other players on that court that were better than him. But it's one game. I don't know.
Yeah, he's not the best player in the class. There's no way. I know guys who are ranked higher in the class of 2023, but he's still very good, and because of who his father is, how do you not take a chance on him as an NBA?
It would be insane to not do it. There's no reason not to throw something at him.
Yeah, I mean, Scottie Pippen Jr. got drafted.
Pippen was a good player. I liked watching him play. Now his dad. What do you think about his dad's comments? That's just crazy.
What's that?
Pippen said Jordan wasn't a good player.
Yeah, did you watch the Jordan doc?
I did. Yeah, I also watched Air, which I thought was a great movie.
I also liked Air. Yep, I try to see all the sports stuff. The Jordan doc about the was it the 10 series? What's it called? The Last Dance.
Yeah.
It really highlighted that Scottie Pippen got the bad end of a deal.
I agree, but he also got elevated because of Jordan.
Yeah, it's sad. I think it's sad to see that he's bitter about what's transpired and how it's all shaken out. But who knows? Who's to blame? Like
the gossipers would say it has something to do with Jordan's son, but who knows?
Yeah,
that could be it too. If you had to pick basketball or football and you can't do one or the other, what are you taking?
To work in or to play?
Either to watch, to work.
Yeah.
One of them is removed from your life. Which one do you keep? What are you keeping?
I would go. Man, that's a tough question. I would probably pick basketball.
Yeah, I would probably too. And that
football
would surprise
probably
a lot of
impacts
people.
me more though. I do fantasy football with my buddies, and it's an embarrassingly large part of my life. We're on a group text. We try to go away together every year for the draft. We're constantly talking about it, updating rules. We keep players. It's a big thing.
You're quite a bit younger than I am. When I first started fantasy football, we had to wait until Monday to get the newspaper to fill out the scores and see. You had an idea if you did good. So I played for so long, and I quit probably 15, 20 years ago. I'm too biased. I'm like, but so I haven't played fantasy football in a long, long time. But I think basketball.
Drafting all Gators?
What's that?
Were you drafting all these Gators?
No, I wasn't even a Gator fan at that point until I got. Okay. Yeah, it was like before I was in high school. We were playing in high school, so 30 years ago.
Sure.
Yeah, a long time. I'm older than I look.
Yeah.
I'm also taller than people think. Whenever I see them, you met me. We met at Jason's Owl event. Check Owl out, OWWLL.
Yeah.
The Owl app, but that's where we met. But I'm taller. Most people, when they meet me, they didn't think I'm as tall as I am because I'm sitting down like here, and maybe half the time I'm slouching. House on fire, family, friends, pets, everyone's out. Do you have a piece of memorabilia or something really important to you that you're taking?
Ooh. I love this. This is right behind me. Up top, it's hard to see this angle, but that is an autograph from Adam Sandler.
Oh.
He's got a goat on a leash.
Oh,
and it was for my bar mitzvah.
Oh, wow.
It was a bar mitzvah gift. It says Happy Man Day, love and mazel. And it's just so Sandler, And
it's so Sandler. Did you see him when he was down here? He still got it.
I've never seen him in person. No. That was a gift from. I'll give a shout out to my hero and cousin, and idol, and this is a guy I've always looked up to him. His name's Wayne Fetterman. He's a comedian, and he's been a comedian for a long time now. Also a documentary producer, and he's an author, and I could go on and on. If you just look up Wayne Fetterman, you'll see he's quite an impressive individual. And so when I was a kid, it was my bar mitzvah, he asked me, what do I want? And I had known that he was in a movie with Sandler, and I didn't know if they were close or not, but I was like, can I get Sandler's autograph? And,
which movie was he in?
Man, I think the one that I'm remembering was 50 First Dates. He's been in a ton of movies just for, a brief moment, and maybe one or two lines. He calls it. Now I'm quoting him. This is so funny. He calls it the Fetterman and out because in and out real quick.
Yeah.
And
no shame in that, by the way.
Sorry.
No shame in that. People make a good career out of that.
Oh my God, no, Wayne's the best. It's funny. We were just talking before we got online about UCLA, and he and I went to one of the UCLA games. It was the last one of the season. It was sold out. It was a great game. Very lucky. My client got me tickets to a sold out game, which was also amazing. And so he and I went to that game. It was UCLA versus Arizona. They were both ranked top 10. Yeah, exactly. They were both ranked top 10. It was like a huge matchup. It was senior night. Also, Bill Walton's, I think, 72 or 73 undefeated team was recognized at halftime. Like, it was just such a great thing. I was so glad to share that with him. He's the man. He's always been a hero to me, and I'm so glad that we're close. So yeah, that's like the one thing that awesome. I would grab. But awesome. The client answer is obviously I would take the Nick Boyd as well. There's Stephon Diggs from Maryland, of course.
Yeah, I
Maybe
love
even
Diggs,
maybe
man.
even the
He's
John Wall would make it. I don't know. We'll see. Yeah.
I just what did it? Oh, stadium. Give me a football and a basketball stadium that you haven't been to that you would love to get to someday.
Ooh, I haven't been to. Okay. I'm excited. I'm gonna go to Purdue at Michigan this year. I've never been
Big
to.
house.
Yeah, I've never been to the Big House. I'm gonna be.
Underwhelming.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. I was there for a game. It was the first game of the year. But I'm sure for a good game, it's a good environment.
Yeah, I'd love to see a Michigan State game. I've always been attracted to that rivalry.
Yeah.
I would love to go to like a basketball game in East Lansing in that rivalry, or a football game. Man, that would be a lot of fun. But let me do. I can do a little better. I'm gonna do pro. I would love to go see. I've been to MSG. I was there for the tournament, for the NCAA tournament. I would love to see. I would love to go to the Dubs, to go to the Warriors arena.
That looks like
Oracle Arena. That would be really cool. And
that
then,
in Oklahoma City would be a cool venue too. I haven't been there.
And then the obvious answer at the top of my list, I gotta go see Vegas. I've got to go to a football game there. Have
you been to LA? Have you been to SoFi?
Yep, I've been to SoFi. I love SoFi.
SoFi is way better than the Raiders Allegiant.
Really?
In my opinion.
It's impressive. It is an impressive.
Way better.
Yeah.
But who knows? And they're both a good. We actually went back to back. We went to Sunday. The first year they were open to fans. Sunday we went to SoFi and we flew there for Monday and saw the Raiders. Both great games. They're very good environments. So you can't go wrong with either way. We're going to let you out of the Wolff Den with the same question everybody gets.
Okay.
You get to spend a day with anybody in the world, 24 hours. They have to be alive and you can't be related to them. Who would you choose and what would you guys do?
Whew. Man. All right. All right. I would choose. Oh man, this is so hard. I'm in between Conan, Sandler, and Shaq. This is so tough.
Those are good. Those are three good.
This is really tough. I'm just trying to think of how we would spend the day.
I'm going Sandler, Conan, Shaq if those are my three choices, but they're all
this
good.
is really tough, man. Oh, you know what? And so I have a favorite comedian. His name is James Acaster. I would actually this is gonna be a not.
Who is it? James
Acaster. He's a British comedian. He is hysterical.
Never heard of him. I listen to a lot of comedy. I'll have to
I'm a huge comedy nerd, and
I'm a Nate Bargatze guy. He's my man right now.
I was telling you about my cousin Wayne. He told me about Nate before he was mainstream, and I saw him live in LA a few times before he got big. It was amazing. Love Nate. His bits are great. Olivia, excuse me, what? Okay. All right. I'm gonna make it easy. I'm gonna take James Acaster, and because he hosts a food podcast and he leans towards sugary foods, I'm gonna go on an eating tour with this guy.
That's a great day.
And that would be a lot of fun. I would literally just go to wherever he's living at the time and let him take me from place to place and eat all of his favorite foods. I think that would be an incredible day.
If you meet a comedian, do you try and make him laugh? I mean, do you do like your best to try and make someone laugh? I just try to always think if I'm in a room with a comedian, which I've been.
Yeah.
You don't want to try too hard.
In the past, I'm not proud to say, yes, I'm always cracking jokes. I'm not going to do that anymore. Like I met John Mulaney once. We took a quick photo.
Mulaney's another favorite of mine.
I think I said to him something so stupid. I was like, it's nice to finally meet my new best friend, or something like that. And
that was the name of his album, wasn't it?
New in Town, yeah.
New in Town.
I was like,
all right. So we got
that was great.
Got James Acaster.
James Acaster, yeah, but close second, third, and fourth would be Shaq, Conan, and
Dude.
Sandler, and I would do whatever they wanted me to do. That'd be
Food tour with James. It's on the list. We're at 291. We're gonna try and make some stuff happen for everyone.
Is that the first
Great
James Acaster mention on the list?
That's the first time he's been mentioned. I feel like Sandler might have been mentioned. I don't think Conan, Shaq might have been mentioned. I'm getting the list together. I did a poor job of keeping, but I'm going to have the list together, and we'll probably do some kind of social media post for it. Check out nilempire.com, Instagram nil.empire. Scott, great to chat with you. Ticket Time Machine, we're working on some unique and innovative assets for the NIL space, so I look forward to chatting with you about
Absolutely
how we can help, and get in touch with Scott if you're involved with a player who wants to take their brand to the next level.
Yeah, or if you're a company who wants to do
If you're a
sport
company
marketing.
who wants to get involved in
Absolutely.
college athletics and back a player whose brand is on the rise.
Yeah,
Or
Matthew,
Scott can help you bring that brand on the rise.
I just want to say thanks so much for having me on the pod and on the show. This was really great, and thank you for thinking of me. I love the opportunity to chat and showcase, and so this is really fun. But I want to quickly ask you: has anyone asked you that great question that you just asked me at the end? Who would you spend time with? It has to be alive.
The first thing that would come to my mind would be Obama, and he's probably the number one.
Yeah.
But like Jason Bateman would be a second one. I think he probably would be number two, maybe Tebow. I mean, there's a list, but I think Obama really comes to my mind first, and then probably Bateman.
Yeah, sounds like we're right in line with who we like. Yeah, I'm going to send you some comedians, and please do the same.
Yeah, we'll do. All right, great to chat with you. I think we're off. I'm in Louisville and Lexington next week, so we're off. But we'll have some more episodes the following week. So stay tuned. Do something fun. Do something good, and we'll talk to everyone soon. Thanks a lot.